So Champagne is produced only in the Champagne region in France. It's the northern wine region of France, so it's about an hour and a half east from Paris. The three main grapes in Champagne are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. We're going to talk about Chardonnay a bit later, specifically because of the Blanc de Blanc. So Chardonnay is a white grape, white juice, and Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier are red grapes with white juice. Champagne is actually a wine, so we always talk about champagne, but we should talk about wines of Champagne. And it's made like any other wine with the first fermentation, but the trick is that we do have bubbles, so we need to go through what we call a prise de mousse, and for the prise de mousse we need to induce a second fermentation. So during that second fermentation we are getting the bubbles that you're expecting from a champagne. And from that second fermentation, during that second fermentation, there's some residues that are appearing, and we need to get rid of them, and we call that disgorgement when we get rid of that lie during the disgorgement. So champagne bottles are usually this shape. Then lately we've got more and more different shapes, but this is the typical bouteille champenoise. After you've got two categories mostly of champagne. To make it simple, you've got a non-vintage category, which is the expression of, which is actually not the expression of, it's you expect every year your non-vintage to be about the same style and about the same aromas and the same taste, and it's a blend of different harvests basically. Usually 3 to 4 different harvests to get to your non-vintage. And us at Arteis Co, we do only vintage wines, so that's the second category. A vintage wine is the expression of just 1 year. So to take an example, this is Arteis Co Brut 2004. It's only made from grapes harvested in 2004. The same thing for the Rosé. Rosé 2007, only made from grapes from 2007. So the two main categories, non-vintage, vintage. Then after you've got other specifications. So it could be, for instance, with the level of sugar, so what we call the dosage. So a brut can go up to 15 grams of sugar per liter. An extra brut can only go up to 6 grams of sugar per liter. Then above the brut, so sweeter, you can have extra dry, then sec, then demi-sec. And lower than brut, you can have extra brut, then brut nature, and brut zero. At Arteis Co, so only vintage wines. This is an old vintage from '99. We've got the Brut 2004. We've got usually 3 cuvées: Brut, Brut Rosé, and Extra Brut Blanc de Blanc. The Brut 2004 is actually out now, and we also have a Brut 2007. The Rosé 2007, now we switched to Rosé 2008, and the Extra Brut Blanc de Blanc 2004. As you can see, those are all vintages, and we always trying to release the vintage our cuvées when the cuvée is going from medium bodiness to full bodiness. So the wines we're offering are mostly, actually not mostly, they're all very gastronomy oriented, so what we call gourmand and gourmet wines. So they're full, medium to full body, and they've got complexity enough to be paired with food, and they actually need food to be paired with. The Brut 2004 is actually the most versatile with food. The Rosé is actually beautifully and surprisingly good with a very wide array of dishes, but my favorite is a pansy of foie gras with it. And the Blanc de Blanc is a Blanc de Blanc, so you remember 3 grapes in Champagne: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. And the Chardonnay is the white grape with white juice, and that's what a Blanc de Blanc is. Blanc de Blanc means white of white, so it's only made from Chardonnay. This is from 2004, and this one goes very well with, for instance, a carpaccio of scallop. Just beautiful with just a tiny bit of olive oil. So as I mentioned, all the wines are very food friendly. The other trick that we have is that we use very little amount of sugar during the disgorgement. So our dosage is very low. We're talking about 4 grams for the Brut, we're talking about 6 grams for the Rosé, and 3.5 for the Blanc Blanc extract. So very low dosage, so very dry, but still not overly dry, not bone dry, so you can still enjoy it by itself, but goes very well with